Romano Prodi was Prime Minister of Italy twice, in 1996, 1998, and then again 10 years later in 06 to 08. In between, as all of you, I'm sure, know, Mr. Prodi was the President of the European Commission from 1999 to 2004. Appointed at a time of crisis, he oversaw the introduction of the euro and the enlargement of the European Union to include Malta, Cyprus, and 8 Eastern and Central European members. He is currently President of the UN High-Level Group on Peacekeeping in Africa, and also Professor at Large at Brown University.
Look, when I'm asked now to explain something about Europe, generally I use some rhetoric instrument that I learned from one of my Chinese students who, after my long explanation, a couple of hours explanation about Europe, he asked me, but Professor, Europe is laboratory or a museum? and you know, it's this taking is a very intelligent remark, you know, because I think that we have been the greatest political laboratory of modern history, and you know, creating from division unity, putting together markets, and step by step increasing our competition, and going to the today's subject. We always have been backed by United States. In all the first part, at least, of historical formation of Europe, you know, there was no hesitation of United advance. And you know, we take this for granted, but it was not granted, you know, because generally when something is increasing in power or in trade or in economic expansion, you know, you stop it. And the United States never did it, and I do remember going to the most recent time when we worked about the euro, we never had United States against it. You know? And I think in all the fields in which we worked together, there was a great success. You know? And clearly, except the case of security and defense, in which United States always preferred to deal with NATO and not consider Europe, but this is a special case that was fed by the Cold War, you know. But in all the European history, till the 90s, there was no problem, major problem. Of course, we had some tension sometimes, you know, but in the 90s, we had the problem with the Iraqi war. This was a real moment of division of Europe, you know, and in which United States, they tried to divide Europe. You know. Old Europe, New Europe, and the young, and this was, and I can testify, this was a very difficult moment, you know, because it was a moment in which really you could put in danger the deep relation between the United States and Europe. But then I think that now the problem is different. Now is that Europe is not anymore so sexy. This is the problem. You know, let's say it's not these big players in the world, and so there are new topics. There is China, BRICS, and so on. And as a matter of fact, this is not correct. Let's say Europe is still #1 in GNP in the world, by far. #1 in industrial productions. #1 in export. So we could go on, you know. And then in spite of all the problems that we have, the 27 countries working together, there is a real common market working, in spite of the problem there is free circulation of manpower and people, you know, so it's the difficult new institutional asset is going on, you know, and and you know, I am also optimistic. I think that in spite of all the problems concerning Greece, Ireland, and so on, the basic foundation of Europe are still strong, and still go on. The problem is now is to adapt to this new world, to the multipolarity of the world. You know, a situation in which there is not anymore one dominating country, even if, from the military point of view, the United States will be for a long time number one. But this is not enough. This is a moment in which you have to have a new governance of multipolarity, because multipolarity is not a value in itself. It may be anarchical, it may be conflictual, it may be both, and we have to organize it. So my question is, there is room for a cooperation between Europe and the United States on that? I think that the answer is really yes. Because not only I give for granted what Powers told so well, the values, the democratic, you know, but also to help each other to enhance our democratic value, to help each other to take decisions. Because it's true that the democratic values are so strong and so important, but we have also to take for granted that if we don't renovate them, they are in danger. I know it could be funny, but you know, I was in a private conversation with an important Chinese minister, you know, and we were talking about this new event, these facts, and you know, he simply told me, look, in Europe and even in the United States, you have always elections, local, regional, national, European, and then in Europe you are 27 states, you have always elections. You never think to tomorrow, you only think to today. And in this new change of the world, you will lose that. You will lose the game because you don't deliver. And in the end of this long conversation, he told me, I'm very worried for the future of your democracy. And you know, to listen from a Chinese, very important minister, this wording, I was worried. You know. But I'm insisting on that because I think that we talk about abstract values, but between Europe and the United States, we must work together to improve the value and the working of our democracy. And we can do it, you know, and there is some sort of synergy on this work, you know. And we have to address it in a very specific direction. And in this moment, I tell you that I don't see the feeling, the passion that to work together means to win a long-run challenge. You know, because I repeat, I don't mean, and I am happy that in the last paragraph of the report there is clearly that I am out of any idea of the West against the rest. This is absolutely stupid. This will bring the world in a disaster. But I do think that we have to exploit our affinity, our working together, and that we have a lot of room to do that. And in the last years, I think that we have not done it. We have not done it because we think that the new players they are irresistible. And if we want to avoid a clash, that we need to avoid a clash, we must be conscious of our strength and of our possibility. And from the European point of view, as I told you, I think, and my message is that you have to understand that all the problems that we have, that are very, very big, are problems that don't interrupt the growth and the increase of European unity. We need time, we need a lot, but even in the Greek crisis, I think that could be solved much better and much sooner than it did. But in the end of the story, the European powers have increased and the cohesion has increased, even, I repeat, with a lot of money wasted, with a lot of political energy wasted, with a lot of time wasted. But the progress of the European convergence is still there. So I think that Europe could be, I was telling you, but could be recognized, and this is my, let's say, my complaint that I do vis-à-vis United States, that is never recognized as a, because of the division, because of our lack of unity, but as potential protagonist in the biggest problems that we have. To give the example that I have tested so many times, when I go, I often go to the Middle East, they always tell me, look, you are the biggest trader, you are the biggest investor, you know much better than the Americans how they are, and you don't exist. And I do think that in many cases will be much more convenient for the United States to use Europe, to understand that we could have a role, even if clearly the problem of the unanimity, the problem of how difficult is our growth, I do recognize that this problem exists. But I repeat, I have not seen in the American administration a moment of recognition of a European existence or European reality. Obama never mentioned Europe in his speech. And of course I do understand because of the famous difficulty that Kissinger was speaking about. But I do think that you promote your interest in this case using the old American strategy. Promoting Europe is promoting also the American interest, especially in the areas in which America alone is not able to solve the problems.
By yourself, at the beginning of the question, we're going to take 3 questions in a row.